She was once a woman who believed that love was supposed to heal. A woman who believed that a home was meant to be safe and peaceful. Her name was Lena, and her story begins on a quiet morning, when the sun rose slowly over her small town, casting a gentle light across her life that felt far from gentle. She had grown up with dreams that stretched far beyond the walls she eventually found herself trapped inside. Dreams of building a warm family, dreams of a partner who would hold her hand through storms, and dreams of a life where she did not have to fight for every breath of peace. Lena met Aaron during a time when her heart was soft and hopeful. He spoke gently. He smiled warmly. He made promises that felt like shelter. And for a moment she allowed herself to trust that promise. She entered the marriage with hope glowing in her chest like a small candle in the dark. But soon the candle began to flicker. Soon the warmth faded. And soon she found herself walking on a floor filled with broken pieces of a dream she once held so close that it did not happen overnight. Toxicity rarely does. It begins slowly like a whisper in the wind. First the small criticisms that feel like accidents. Then the raised voice that is brushed aside as frustration. Then the long cold silence that lasts through the night. Lena told herself it was normal. She told herself every couple fights, every marriage struggles. But soon she realized that what she was living through was not a struggle. It was a cage. Aaron had a way of tearing her down without lifting a hand. He used words that cut deeper than steel. Words that sank into her skin and stayed there. You are nothing. You are lucky I am with you. No one else would want you. Slowly these words created a world where Lena felt smaller and smaller, until she could hardly recognize the woman she had once been. She stopped laughing. She stopped dreaming. She even stopped looking at her own reflection because she no longer saw a woman worth loving. She only saw a shadow. He controlled her every step. He questioned every phone call, every message, every moment she spent outside the house. He insisted that he only wanted what was best for her, that he was protecting her. But protection is not meant to feel like chains around the wrists. Love is not meant to feel like fear gripping the heart. Lena lived every day with a quiet dread inside her, a dread that grew each time he walked through the door. She hid her pain from the world. She learned to smile at neighbors. She learned to say she was fine even when her voice trembled. Nights were the hardest. Nights were when his anger became a storm without warning. Nights were when she would sit on the edge of the bed praying for peace, begging for silence. And when morning came she would wake with tired eyes and keep moving because she believed she had no choice, because she believed she was trapped. One night everything changed. It was a cold night when the wind rattled against the windows. Aaron had come home with a storm inside him stronger than any before. His words were sharper, his tone heavier. He shouted until the walls seemed to shake with every sound. Lena stood still, unable to speak, unable to defend herself. Her fear wrapped around her until she could no longer breathe. That night she realized something. If she stayed, she would lose herself forever. If she stayed, she might not survive. For the first time she allowed herself to imagine escape. The idea terrified her, but it also awakened something inside her. A small spark of the woman she used to be. A woman who wanted to live. A woman who deserved more than fear. She waited until the storm in the other room faded into silence. She waited until Aaron fell asleep. Then she walked quietly toward the front door with trembling hands and a heart pounding like a drum. She stepped outside into the night. The cold air hit her face, but for the first time it felt like freedom. She did not take anything with her except her phone and her breath. She walked down the street and did not look back. Every step felt like breaking a chain. Every step felt like reclaiming a life that had been stolen from her piece by piece. She reached the house of her childhood friend Maya, who opened the door with wide eyes and without hesitation pulled her inside and held her as she cried for the first time in years. The next days were heavy with fear. Aaron called. He threatened. He begged. He accused. He tried to break her again with words she had once believed. But something had shifted inside Lena. She refused to answer. She refused to open the door. She had finally allowed herself to understand that leaving was not a betrayal. It was a rescue mission. She was rescuing herself. Healing was not simple. It never is. There were mornings when she woke shaking from old memories. Nights when she cried silently, struggling with guilt that did not belong to her. But every day she grew stronger. Every day she reclaimed a piece of herself. She started therapy. She started journaling. She started walking outside under the open sky, feeling the world without fear for the first time in years. The woman who had once been silent began to find her voice again. A voice that had once been buried under fear and cruelty. She learned to say no. She learned to say I deserve better. And slowly she began to believe those words. She found a job. She built routines. She surrounded herself with people who cared for her. People who reminded her of the strength she did not even know she carried. Months passed. Aaron tried to reach her again, but this time she was no longer the fragile woman he had shaped with fear. This time she stood tall. She told him she would never return. She told him he no longer had power over her life. And for the first time she watched him fall silent. A different silence than before. A silence that meant freedom. Lena moved into a small apartment with pale walls and soft light. It was not big, but it was hers. Every corner represented a new beginning. Every breath inside those walls felt like a victory. She decorated it slowly, choosing colors that made her feel alive. She placed flowers on her table. She kept the window open so the world could enter without fear. She now wakes each morning knowing she survived something that could have destroyed her. She walks outside with her head raised. She smiles not because her past is erased, but because she overcame it. She learned that escaping a toxic marriage is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of courage. A sign of choosing life over fear. A sign of choosing herself. Today Lena shares her story not to gather sympathy, but to speak to other women who sit in silence the way she once did. Women who think they have no way out. Women who believe they are not strong enough. She tells them that strength does not always roar. Sometimes strength is a quiet step in the dark. Sometimes it is a trembling hand on a doorknob. Sometimes it is simply the decision to survive. Her voice today is not loud, but it is steady. It carries the weight of everything she endured and everything she became. She escaped a toxic marriage, but more importantly, she found herself again. She became a woman who knows her worth. A woman who knows that love should never hurt. A woman who will never be silenced again. And in her new life, in her quiet home with the sun shining through the window, she finally understands something she never knew before. She was never weak. She was never alone. She was a survivor. She always had the power inside her. She just needed one brave night to unlock it. Her story is not about suffering. Her story is about rising. Her story is about the moment she stepped into the night and chose freedom. Her story is a reminder that no matter how dark the world becomes, there is always a way out. There is always a path forward. There is always a life waiting on the other side of fear. Lena walks that path now with strength in her heart and peace in her steps. She escaped a toxic marriage and found a future filled with hope. A future she built with her own shaken hands. A future she truly deserves. And her voice, now soft but strong, whispers a message to every woman still trapped in silence. You are not alone. You are stronger than you think. And you deserve a life where love does not hurt. A life where you can finally breathe again. I would love to hear your opinion, so please share it with me in the comments. I'm always curious about what you all think, and also write me where you heard this story. For more life stories like this, like the video and subscribe to my channel. There are many other stories waiting for you. With heartfelt greetings. Until next time.